Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I'm going to talk about how to apply to medical school. So what I'll cover is the MCAT, what it covers, the resources I used, my score, my study schedule, and when to take the exam. I'll also cover the TMDSAS AMCAS application, an overview of the timeline, primary and secondary applications, and letters of recommendation, and then interviews, timeline, what I did to prepare, what you should do to prepare, and then CASPer and a gap year, what CASPer is and how to use gap years to your advantage. I've also provided links throughout this whole PowerPoint slides. I will be uploading them on the description box below, and embedded in the PowerPoint slide is going to be hyperlinks, so you can use those as they pertain to what you need. And yeah. So first, before we get into the nitty gritty, my name is Natalie. I am from Beeville, Texas. I'm a senior at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm in the class of 2025 at Dell Medical School. And then that's my Instagram handle if you'd like to follow me. Oh, fun fact, I have a cat named Caesar. He's around here somewhere doing what he does, nothing. But yeah, he's the light of my world. I love him so much. And I'll focus a little bit more on TMDSAS because that's what I used primarily. I also use AMCAS, but I didn't really follow through with my secondary applications for that process. So majority of my focus is going to be TMDSAS, but I will try my best to supplement the AMCAS also. The MCAT. So we're going to talk about the MCAT. Excuse me. And so this is a 7.5-hour exam consisting of 4 sections. Each section consists of 59 multiple choice questions to be completed in 95 minutes, except for the car section, which takes up to 90 minutes to complete. And you get your biology, your chemistry, your psych classes, and your critical analysis. So more info at the Princeton Review, but that's what that is. And this is what I use. Again, these are hyperlinks, so you can click these to actually go to the link of like what I got. And I used the Kaplan MCAT 7-book subject review, and then I got the AAMC MCAT official prep online only bundle. So that includes the 4 packs of exams, a sample test, a section bank, question packs for all subjects, the ones I just talked about. And then they also have ones that are a little bit harder. So they have some harder physics questions and harder biology and biochem section ones. So those are really useful because, as I will go into next, I made custom tests out of these question banks. And how I did that, it's outlined word for word in the MedPros video. I used exactly what they used, and it was actually very, very helpful. Very intense, though, I will say. It's not something that is supposed to be easygoing. It's very intense for a reason, and because you get the most out of it, the more you put into it. And so the longer you study this way, I think is the better. For me, I studied for 23 days for 10 to 14 hours a day because it took me that long to complete the exam or review it all. And I started at a 492 with the Kaplan exam when I first started, and then a 502 with the AMC exam, 3 504s, and then I got to a 510 the day of my exam. And basically, like I said, we take 1 practice exam every other day. So you wake up, take 1 practice exam, write in early in the morning or whatever, and the next day you review the whole thing. And how I reviewed specifically, I would review the question, obviously, but I wouldn't just review the question, but I would review the entire theme or the entire section or about that topic is about. So if I got questions or if I missed a question on like acids and bases, then I would review the entire acids and bases section or the entire chemistry in that section. Excuse me. And the benefits of this method, you build a lot of endurance and you get trained to take the exam made by the AAMC using their own materials. And again, I've embedded links, so I'll keep saying that until my head blows off, apparently. So yeah, we're gonna keep going. Excuse me, when to take the exam. So I took it in July of 2020. Take it sooner if you can, because you wanna have time to take it again if you need to. And this gives you time in the application process to accommodate for that. I also recommend taking it during breaks, so in the summer, winter break, or spring break, so that you have like a dedicated window of nothing else to worry about and to dedicate to the MCAT. Spring break's a little bit of a push, but if you absolutely have to do it, do it. And what else? It was hard for me to prioritize MCAT studying over my schoolwork, so I ended up rescheduling my exam like multiple times, like 2 or 3 times, because I just wasn't prepared. Honestly, I didn't know how to approach the exam. I didn't know how to start studying. And the way I was studying then, it was very inefficient. I would read the chapters, like a couple chapters of like 2 or 3 of all the books, of the 7 books of a day. And I just wasn't retaining the material. It just wasn't a good time either, because I didn't feel like I was learning anything. And it was honestly a big waste of time. So don't do that. And yeah, so the earlier that you take the exam and the earlier that you prepare for it, the better. That's what I'll say. Medical school application. So this is a general overview of the upcoming cycle and the ideal timeline. So this is assuming that COVID isn't going to be that big of a problem in the coming cycle in terms of like messing with deadlines and things like that. So these are dates adapted from when I looked at them, which was April 16th today. And yeah, so these changed, not my fault. But this is just a general like outline of what they usually are. Okay, so the application opens for both of these systems is May 3rd. And by mid to late May, you can submit your application. And then early decision programs, they also have those. Those have their own deadlines, so just be mindful of that. And then I've also linked like their resources, so you could always fact check me if you need to. And application deadlines for the AMCAS is October 1st, and then TMDSAS is August 1st, so they are a little bit different. And the preference deadline for, hold on, okay. The transcripts are requested a little bit after you get accepted. So you do your whole application and you basically do your secondary application, your primary and secondary applications, and then you do interviews, and then you get it like accepted, hopefully, and then you do your transcripts once after that. So that's depending on the school. And your match preferences, that pertains to TMDSAS only. AMCAS doesn't do match preferences, and those deadlines, the preference deadline is February 18th, and the results are announced March 4th. TMDS versus AMCAS, and there's some differences outlined between them. So for TMDSAS, you get a flat rate for submitting primary applications. So you can select as many schools as you want, but the flat rate is going to be $185. For AMCAS, you pay per school you apply to. And for TMDSAS, there's no limit on the number of activities you can add. Your personal statement character count is 5,000, but the AMCAS is 5,300, and you only get 15 slots for the work activities and extracurriculars. And then TMDSAS, you have 2 additional essays. One is optional, quote unquote. I put those in quotes because there's no such thing as optional when it comes to medical school. Everything you have to do, just as a rule of thumb. It's just something that looks better. And letters of recommendations, when and how to submit them. Try to submit letters of rec by June to July. This means request and obtain them by May. And I use Interfolio, and again, there's a link there to their site to request, receive, and send my letters of rec. Actually, that's a link to a video that outlines exactly how to use Interfolio for the AMCAS application. So that's really useful. And it works for both TMDSAS and AMCAS. So I used it for both of them. And the types of letters you can submit is a committee letter from a health professions office, or 3 individual letters, which is what I did, 2 from the science faculty, and 1 additional letter. So what I did, I got a letter of rec from a PA that I shadowed for a very long time. They usually recommend doctors, but they took mine for a PA. A science professor, my research PI, principal investigator, that's what that means. And then I had a mentor of mine, my academic advisor who knew me really well, do my 3rd letter. And then I had a fourth letter from another science professor that I had. It was my biochemistry professor. Didn't know her that well, but I needed that second science science recommendation. And so, yeah, that's what I did. And a little bit more detail before I move on. A committee letter or composite letter is written by pre-med advising office for a college or university. Not every college offers such a letter, so just be sure to double check if you decide to go that route. In your primary application, what it entails. So it asks you identify information, schools attended, biographic information, coursework, work activities, and you pick 3 of the most valuable ones that you go in more detail about them. So of course you submit all the other ones that you want them to know about you. And then you pick 3 of those and you talk a little bit more about them basically. And then you have a letters of rec section, and then you have a medical school selection section where you choose the ones that you want to apply for. And for me, I would recommend applying to all Texas medical schools because again, it's a flat rate anyway. And in general, if you don't do that, in general, like over the thumb is like 10 to 12 or 12 to 15 schools is a safe range to apply to. Mind you, I applied to all medical schools and some out of state, but granted, I didn't complete all the out of state ones, so I wasn't considered for them. And I got 2 interviews and 2 acceptances out of all the ones I applied and finished secondaries for. So it's a tough pool to compete against. So the more you apply to, the better your chances. And writing essays. So this is something that I struggled with, like I said before, for a long time. It was really hard for me to start, but I got you some useful tips. Okay. So what I did is I would copy the prompts on the document and just write out all my ideas. Any idea that I had, I would write on there. And brainstorm ideas. I also put the word count there just so I can keep track of how much I needed to do, how much I needed to write. And I also used my writing center at my university. It's basically people who are paid by the university to help other students with their essays. They don't necessarily tell you what to write, but they help you with sentence structure, awkward sentences, grammar, and things like that. And they also help brainstorm with you, like help develop your ideas a little bit more. And so I also used my mentor to review my essay and give me feedback. And I also brainstormed ideas with her too, and that was really helpful for me in the very beginning of my essay writing. And then creating a theme to your whole application. So what this means is you want to stand out, right? It's a tough pool of people that are all applying for this amazing school, and they're all like probably very capable in their own shape, form, and fashion. And you want to be able to stand out in front of this tough pool of applicants, right? So doing that, you create a theme. And for me, my theme was mental health. So I did a mental health awareness event in my hometown. So I talked a lot about that, how I did it, what it brought to my community, and why I did it too. And then I have a lot of ties family members who suffer with mental health disorders. So I was able to talk about that from a personal perspective, but also from a medical perspective too, because I have seen so closely with how that affects them. And I was able to give my 2 cents about how important it is for mental health to be advocated for more often and also to be considered in medical practices. And so I was able to talk about it in the same thing in multiple different ways, and that pertains to multiple areas of my life, and also demonstrated different values and characteristics of myself. And that's another thing you want to do. You want to incorporate values that align with the university or with the institution that you're applying to without explicitly saying them. So if their values are hardworking or resiliency and things like that, you don't want to say I'm a hardworking and resilient person. Tell a story about a time that it was challenging and how you work through that challenging time, and show the reader that you're hardworking and resilient in that kind of way. And for me, I showed my passion for mental health by having that concrete example of me doing something like the mental health awareness event. And I showed my organization skills, I showed my leadership skills because I did this event. And so I didn't have to tell them that I was a leader. I showed them that I was a leader. And yeah, so that's how I did that. My cat wants to come over here. Hello. But you were not allowed. No. Sorry. Okay. Next, secondary applications, what most schools require, if not all of them. What to do is what to expect. So what to expect after you complete your primary application, you'll get a supplemental application or a secondary application request by the institution. Sometimes it's automatic. Sometimes they do actually select through your primary application first, and then pick who they want to actually send secondaries to. So always like try your best on them, because a lot of the time that's like their way of showing to like, hey, we're interested in you. Give us more reasons why we should be even more interested in you and offer you an interview. So you want to tailor your answers for each of these programs even more. Research their unique programs that they offer. Talk about them if they can, because a lot of times they'll ask like, why us? And you want to be able to answer that in a very meaningful and genuine way. And for Dell Medical School particularly, they had a multi-mini interview format, and basically those like videos, they gave me a prompt or a scenario and had to give my responses to that in real time. And I would prepare for that as a normal interview. Honestly, I didn't prepare for it because I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, do better than I did. So yeah, and also be mindful how long these can take. It's not just one or two. Like it's usually not just one that's like little 200 page, like 200 word thing. It's usually like a few of those, like up to four of them. I think like that's what I had to do, and they all vary in length. So take them seriously, take your time on them, but prioritize at the same time which ones you want to get done first. So in case you run out of time, at least you have your top choices done first if you do it that way. Interviews, okay. Oh, also it costs money to do your secondary applications. So that's another thing to consider too. Okay. So all I did was review their core values and my application, just in case they ask me specific questions. Of course, be better than me, and practice answering common questions on your own or with someone else. And common questions are like, tell me about yourself, why medicine, and tell us about a time you failed and how you dealt with it. Another question that I got that was really hard, honestly, for me to answer was, tell me about a time that you disappointed someone else, or tell me about a time that someone else disappointed you and how you responded to that in both situations. And that was pretty hard because I wasn't prepared for it, but at the same time, I was able to kind of weasel my way out of it. It was difficult. So if you prepare for these ahead in advance, you don't have to be like me and struggle. But yeah, that's what I did. And now gap years. Okay, so, oh my gosh, that is a typo. What some schools require, that is not true. Schools do not require that. Okay. So yeah, how a gap year can be beneficial. You can use time to improve your MCAT score, finish up missing prerequisites. You can boost low GPA and a low MCAT score with a science-based master's program, which is really cool. You can study abroad, like cultural enrichment, like get to know other cultures and things like that. You can do volunteer abroad opportunities too. You can also work in a medically related field, gain research experience, do like a fellowship or something like that would be really useful. Taking a much needed break from academics is also a very valid reason to take a gap year. I mean, come on, this stuff is hard. And going straight into medical school for me, it's something that I'm gonna have to like really prepare for, but I don't know how to, because it literally starts in June and I graduate in May. So that's something that I'm gonna have to deal with, and y'all are gonna have to come along with me with. So with me with, what is me? You can tell I'm a science major. I don't know English, apparently. Okay. The CASPer test. Again, yeah, well, some school require, that's true. That is true. Okay, so basically it's a situational judgment test. You watch/read or read a scenario, typically with the ethical dilemma behind it, and you respond with what you do and why via like typing and stuff. You also can record yourself. So it really just depends on what they want in the moment. but they do both formats. And this is required for some schools. It takes about 90 minutes to complete, including introduction, 65 minutes of questions, and an optional break. And results are sent directly to selected institutions. So I didn't get to see my score. It was sent directly to them. So I have no idea how I did on it. And that's usually how it is for most people. I think they did a trial thing or like a research thing where they sent some people their scores back, but not everybody was received their scores back. And another thing that's important, your CASPer results are only valid for a single application cycle and only for the program type for which you have written the test. So yeah, that's something to consider. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you. Any questions, leave a comment down below or reach out to me on Instagram. I'll check my stuff regularly and my notifications are on. And that's pretty much it. Credits, special thanks to all the people who made and released these awesome resources for free. The template, beautiful, loved it. Slides Carnival, again, links all are involved in here, so use them. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time.